there, friends! Welcome to my channel. I'm so happy you're here today. In this video, we're going to practice English in a fun way using a technique called shadowing. You might be thinking, what's shadowing? Let me tell you. Shadowing is when you listen to someone speak in English and try to repeat exactly what they say, just like a shadow following them around. It helps you get better at pronunciation, intonation, and listening skills. Here's how you can use this video to practice. First, listen as I read a story. You'll see all the words on the screen, so it's easy to follow along. Then, try repeating after me, matching my tone and rhythm. Don't worry if it's not perfect right away. The more you practice, the better you'll get. Before we jump into the story, let me quickly share why I chose it. It's a fun one, and I think you'll enjoy it. The story is called The Day She Lost Her Slipper, and it's perfect for learning English because it's packed with everyday vocabulary and situations. You'll hear simple, conversational English that you can relate to. From a missing slipper to funny work-from-home moments. Plus, the characters have natural dialogues, which will help you practice different tones and expressions. So, as you listen and repeat, you'll be improving not just your words, but also your understanding of how real conversations flow. The day she lost her slipper. It all began with a slipper. Not a glass one, not a fancy one. Just a cozy pink slipper with a bunny face on top. Laura had been wearing them every morning for years, and that Monday morning was no different. Except one slipper had vanished. She stood in the hallway, 1 foot cold, 1 foot warm, holding a cup of coffee that was already too cold and too bitter. She stared at the spot where it should have been. "Great," she muttered. "The week already hates me." Laura was a 35-year-old graphic designer who worked remotely from her small but charming apartment above a bakery that always smelled like fresh croissants. But cruelly, never opened before 9 a.m. Her life was usually organized, her schedule precise, her mornings quiet. Or at least they were supposed to be. "Luna," she called, her voice still half groggy, hoping to find the slipper under the bed or couch. Luna was her cat, black with green eyes, a true queen of the house who had an uncanny ability to find and steal whatever was important to Laura. If anyone had taken her slipper, it was Luna. She opened the bedroom door. Nothing. Not even the faintest sign of a pink bunny slipper. This wasn't just any slipper. This was her lucky slipper. The one she wore every morning when she worked, the one that had been with her through countless stressful deadlines and Zoom calls. Without it, she felt incomplete. She sighed, taking another sip of her now cold coffee. This was going to be one of those days. After 15 minutes of fruitless searching, at this point even pulling up the couch cushions like a detective, she gave up. "It's just a slipper, Laura. Get it together." By 9 a.m., Laura was already late for her first Zoom meeting of the day. She quickly wiped her face with a wet cloth, tossed her hair into a messy bun, and threw on her favorite hoodie. There was no time to fix her eyeliner smudge or finish her makeup. Maybe no one would notice, right? But of course, as she logged into the meeting, the screen popped up with her coworkers all staring back at her. The first thing one of them said was, "Hey, Laura, you look a little different today. New style?" Laura's hand shot up to her face, realizing she'd forgotten to finish her makeup. A half-done winged eyeliner was definitely not the look she was going for. Yeah, she laughed awkwardly. I'm going for the I woke up and forgot how to be a grown-up look. Her coworker Mark chuckled. It's a vibe, just don't make it a habit. I'll try not to, she replied, rolling her eyes and muting herself as she pulled up the presentation slides. The next 2 hours were a blur of awkward technical glitches, interrupted phone calls from the delivery guy, and more coffee that only seemed to make her more jittery than focused. By the time her meeting ended, Laura was already ready for lunch. She decided to take a walk, hoping a change of scenery would clear her head. She needed oat milk anyway, since she'd gone through half the carton already this morning. There was a small corner store a block away, and it was the perfect excuse to escape her chaotic work-from-home setup. She pulled on her jacket and grabbed her purse, not even realizing that she was still wearing the mismatched bunny slipper and sock combo. Outside, the air had a crisp edge to it, but it wasn't too cold. The bakery below her apartment was just starting to open, and she could hear the familiar chime of the doorbell ringing as the morning rush began. She caught a glimpse of Marco, the bakery's owner. He was at the counter, flour-covered and clearly in his element, as he unpacked freshly baked pastries. She waved at him, and he waved back, his grin warm. He was a bit of an enigma in her small world. The bakery was always busy with regulars, but somehow he managed to make every customer feel like the most important person in the room. Laura admired that, and honestly, she couldn't help but feel a little nervous whenever he was around. As she stepped out onto the street, she realized she had completely forgotten to look at her feet. She was still in her mismatched slippers. She glanced down and froze in horror. "Oh, no," she muttered to herself. The bunny slipper, on the street, with the sock. As if on cue, Marco stepped out of the bakery door holding a bag of what smelled like the most delicious croissants Laura had ever smelled in her life. He looked at her, raising an eyebrow in amusement. "Well, that's a unique look," he said, grinning. Laura blinked, feeling her cheeks heat up. "Oh, I, um, I lost one of my slippers, and this is what happens when I try to rush," she mumbled, clutching the oat milk in her hand like it was a lifeline. He laughed, his eyes twinkling. "I'm not judging. I've seen stranger things happen around here. But hey, if you need to find it, I've got a plan." A plan? Laura blinked, still trying to figure out why her brain wasn't working properly. She had just met this man through the bakery's counter, and yet here they were, having an oddly personal conversation in the middle of the street. "Yep," he said, handing her the bag of croissants. "How about this? Trade me a story about the slipper, and I'll give you a free pastry for your troubles." Laura blinked again. This was unexpected, but she was hungry, and the idea of an excuse to sit down for a moment sounded good. "Well," she said, sighing, "I guess I owe you a story. But fair warning, it's not a great one." They found a bench in the small park next door, and she sat down, still feeling a bit awkward but grateful for the company. As they shared pastries, Laura couldn't help but feel at ease. Marco wasn't just charming, he was genuinely kind. They started talking about silly childhood memories, favorite books they'd read, failed attempts at cooking pasta. Marco's was hilariously disastrous. And dreams that still lived just beneath the surface of their daily lives. By the time they were finishing the last crumbs of the croissants, Laura realized she hadn't been this engaged in a conversation in a long time. There was something refreshing about how easily they connected. Something about Marco felt like a breath of fresh air. As they stood up to part ways, Marco smiled and gave her a small wave. "You've got a good story there," he said. "And hey, if you ever need another pastry or someone to help you find your slipper, you know where I'll be." Laura smiled back, feeling lighter than she had all day. "I think I might just take you up on that." That evening, after the chaos of the day had settled, Laura found herself sitting at her desk, slipper back in place. Luna had stolen it and turned it into a nap nest, and smiling as she thought back on the unexpected encounter. It had started with a missing slipper, a messy morning, and a minor disaster. But somehow, it had led to something unexpectedly magical. She wasn't sure what would come of it, but for the first time in a while, she felt like maybe the universe had a sense of humor and, just maybe, a little bit of magic in store for her. After all, sometimes you lose a slipper, and sometimes you end up finding a new connection instead. And that's the end of the story. I hope you had fun practicing with me today. Remember, the more you practice, the easier it gets. So keep shadowing and don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let me know what part of the story you liked the most or what new word you learned today. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of our future English lessons. I'm here to help you on your learning journey every step of the way. See you in the next one.